This video was created to help adults better understand the letters K and C, so they in turn can help children who are learning to read and spell. Let's start with the letter C. You were probably taught that sometimes the letter C says K, and sometimes it says S. But were you ever taught that the letter C can only spell the sound S if the next letter in the word is one of 3 letters? If you don't know those 3 letters, pause the video to think about it. The letter C can only spell the sound S when the next letter is E, I, or Y, like at the beginning of scent, circus, and cycle, or in the middle of face, acid, and icy. The letter C can't spell the sound K in front of these 3 vowels. And it can't spell the sound S in front of any other letters. If children understand this, they don't need to guess the sound of C when they read unfamiliar words. They just need to look at the next letter. However, if the next letter is H, we have a different situation. The sound Ch doesn't have its own letter. It's usually spelled by this letter team. So when the next letter is H, C doesn't spell K or S. C and H together spell the sound Ch. Looking at the letter after C is important even when there are 2 C's together. The first C always spells the sound K, but you have to look at the letter after the second C to figure out if it spells S or if the 2 C's together just spell the sound K. In the word access, the second C is followed by an E, so CC spells 2 sounds, K, S. While in the word account, the second C is followed by the letter O, so the 2 C's together spell only the sound K. There is one reliable rule in English spelling, which is there is always an exception. Consider the word soccer, which is spelled like soxer. Not every C followed by an I spells the sound S. The letter combination CI spells sh in some word endings like shull in special and shun in musician. But it still holds true that C can't spell the sound K in front of E, I, or Y. Understanding this helps us figure out which letter to use to spell the sound K. At the beginning of words, or before the vowel in a syllable, we usually use the letter C to spell the sound K. But we can't use C if the next letter is E, I, or Y. Then we have to use the letter K. You can see this in cap versus keep, cut versus kit, and Cole versus Kyle, although names tend to be very unreliable examples for how words should be spelled in English. We commonly see exceptions in names and in Australian animal names that are based on Aboriginal words. The choice of C versus K in front of the vowel in a syllable can also be seen in scout versus sketch, scan versus skin, and scum versus sky. Here are some common exceptions. At the end of words, there is a different set of guidelines to help decide how to spell the sound K. We have to look at the letters that come right before the sound K to decide what letter or letters to use. When the sound k comes right after a consonant, we use the letter K, like in milk and mask. We also use K to spell k after vowel teams and vowel R teams, like in book, leak, week, soak, hawk, cork, dark, and clerk. At the end of one-syllable words, when the sound k comes right after a vowel working alone, we use CK, like in back, deck, sick, sock, and duck. Consider these words. Or these words. The use of CK after a vowel working alone might seem arbitrary, but it actually serves a purpose. It prepares the word for the addition of word endings that start with E, I, or Y. For example, if we spelled track with only a C at the end, when we added ing to make tracking, we'd end up with tracing. The I in tracing tells us two things. It tells us the C spells the sound S, and it tells us the letter A spells the sound A. When there is only one consonant between two vowels, it usually means the first vowel sounds like its name, often confusingly called its long sound. If there are two consonants between the vowels, the second vowel doesn't have an effect on the first vowel. It's too far away. So in tracking, we need two letters between the A and the I to protect the A sound. We've already seen that CC wouldn't work because the second C would spell S, making track, traxing. A single K would give us traking. But why don't we use K and just double it to protect the first vowel sound whenever we add an ending, like we do with most other consonants? Apparently some English guys in the 15th century decided we wouldn't double K and that we would use CK instead. Using CK at the end of track protects the A sound of the letter A by putting two consonants between the vowels, while also preserving the sound K by keeping the C away from the I. If the vowel sound in the first syllable is spelled by a vowel team, the next vowel doesn't have an effect on the first vowel sound, so we don't have to double the consonant. If the vowel sound is spelled by one of the split vowel E teams, we have to use K to spell K because the next letter is E. When the sound K comes at the end of multisyllable words that aren't compound words or root words plus prefixes, like music, basic, and public, we usually just use the letter C. On the rare occasion when one of these words has a word ending, we just add the K before the ending. I hope this video gave you a new understanding about the how and why of these sounds and letters, so you can guide children who are learning to read and spell with brief hints like, that C spells S because the next letter is E, or we have to use K because C would spell S in front of I, or we need to double the M to protect the I sound. English spelling is complex, and the presence of so many common exceptions can make it difficult to see the patterns that are there. So it's important to provide children with clear and simple explanations about the sounds in the words we say and the letters or letter teams that spell them.